as I was a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, in the meantime, we should get into the day's headlines. And I feel like, JP, we need like a bit of an intro music here for Wembley update, July 2023. Maybe I'll have to crack one open for August, but it is in fact that time, JP, for the Wembley update, as we have had a few news notes this week coming out from firstly WrestleTix. We reported earlier in the week, and nobody lost their mind over this, JP, at all. WrestleTix reporting that All In now has a tickets distributed number of 74,888. This was on Thursday. This went up on WrestleTix. Now, to be clear to the trolls out there, tickets distributed use same logic as when Meltzer says tickets out. That's the number of tickets that are accounted for at Wembley, i.e., majority are going to be sold tickets, and believe, like I would say, compared to most shows, the sold tickets of AEW compared to like even the resales, like it says here on Twitter, the resales are only at 1,000, which for a show that's got 74,000 tickets out, that's a shockingly small number. Like there's WWE and AEW pay-per-views in 8,000-9,000 seated arenas that have way more of a percentage of that gone, like often up to like 30-40%. But yeah, 74,888 tickets was what our friends at WrestleTix reported. Myself and a few other people got a bit of grief on Twitter then, as the usual. People came out of the woodwork to kick off about it. WrestleTix did note to clarify at the time, tickets distributed don't equal paid. It did include comps, using the example of Clash of the Castle, having 54,000 paid and 62,000 in the building. And yet, to follow that up, to give us the full clarification, we did have our good friend Big Dave Meltzer, who did a bit of an obituary for the GRAPPL app or website in today's edition of the newsletter. You never got that right. Never got it in all caps. Never understood what it actually was, but thank you for the shout out, Dave. Yeah. He has noted that they are now up to 68,000 paid tickets gone for an 8.6 million gate, and yet the updated overall number that Big Dave has is 75,030 tickets. So still a fair amount of what we assume are comps and other types of tickets that are going at Wembley, but 68,000 paid is where we're at, JP, for an 8.6 million gate. We're getting closer, JP, to the all-time attendance records. Dave had a bit of a confusing ramble about that in today's Observer that I'll try and break down in a minute. But yeah, what you put it down to, there's been a bit of a jump. It feels like the last couple of weeks or so. Adverts appearing in the Metro, CM Punk's name over stuff. They definitely seem to be making. I think we're in the second wave now as far as push goes to shift these tickets, JP.
Yeah, we are. We really are in that sort of second wave, because if you look at the things that they've got coming up after Blood and Guts, it's everything's going towards All In and All Out, and obviously All In first of all. In terms of the push, I think you're right. I think it's a combination effect. I think it's that kind of mainstream advertising, and then at the same time, it's the CM Punk factor. I think that would have also been a thing about people seeing CM Punk on there as well. And remember, we don't have a match announced for this. And there are matches that can shift tickets, because I do think if it gets to the point where they go absolutely all guns blazing, let's just say for argument's sake, I think if they brought in a Goldberg now, it's almost like kind of perfect for something along those lines. That would be in terms of like sort of difference makers. But the like other comp tickets, a lot of that is like the Wembley Club and stuff like that. There's always a certain amount. This happens for like FA Cup finals and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's always a controversy, isn't it?
It is. Because it's people who are like effectively non-fans getting tickets. Most of the World Cup final, all right, is made up of people who genuinely seem to be like non-fans. Otherwise, it's people paying extortionate prices for those tickets. But you mentioned the 1,001 resale. That just sort of obliterates any arguments in the water. We were talking, if you think about where this argument has come from, it's come from, could they do Craven Cottage? Is that too big? To, well, if they can do over 25,000 at Wembley, that looks good in like kind of the FA Vars trophy and stuff like that, to getting it to like kind of 35, 40. We're talking about 75,000 people being there before a match is announced. What they're aiming for on there, we're talking 6,000 more tickets. And then it's the all-time attendance record for a paid show. That's from 2016 on there. The paid record is the one to go for, which is really 12,000, give or take, is what they need for that. Is there anything they can do between now and then to shift 12,000 tickets? And I think yes. I think there is. I think there's big matches they can go to. I just think they have to. If there's anyone who says no, we should be holding this out for All Out, I think this is the bigger priority show, and this will be the highlight of very much, so many in this crowd. It's going to be the highlight of their career, possibly even Sting, for God's sakes. Be the biggest crowd he ever worked in front of.
That's the thing, like literally. So I made the mistake of tweeting out. This is like the text version of the graphic, but that the picture version of the graphic I tweeted out. Basically, it was flies to shit, mate. I was getting the worst of the AEW fans, the worst of the WWE fans. Everyone's fucking fighting in your replies, and it just gets out of hand. And like there was literally people fighting. Oh, I don't see what's so impressive. It's like you don't see what's so impressive. Like this is the most tickets anyone's ever sold for a wrestling show outside of the 5 that are on screen that are about to go into in a minute, and pretty much it's the top 3 now that we're actually paying attention to the point where literally somebody was in my replies. I was, because it was Ricky Starks, unfortunately, quote tweeted this person this week, as somebody literally had the cheek to say something along the lines of, well, selling tickets is one thing, but they've still got to get people into the building. And it was like, what kind of like mental gymnastics are you gonna get to get to that point where you think that's a dunk, that's a take? Like they've sold the tickets, we're all going, and if anyone doesn't go, then I suppose that's on them at that point, isn't it? It's like I've had it all. These are fictional numbers, is another one. Like these are made up numbers. These aren't the official numbers. It's like people are replying to me with like TV ratings. Everything turns into like this culture war, no matter what you're talking about at this point, JP. But like this number stuff, and I'm sure this YouTube video is going to attract it as well, just seems to attract the absolute worst of the worst.
It really is those people for whom like facts and figure and data is somehow tribal. And this gets into your kind of Trumpian point of view of just deny things. And it's whatever you feel is the reality of what it is. And it's just like it's a lot. Life doesn't really work like that, particularly when it comes to this kind of like metrics and data of a situation like this. WWE do good business. I am no lover of WWE. Why would you be daft? We spoke about some daily updates and stuff about what SummerSlam is doing. Things like there's a whole load of like business stuff for WWE that is really good. It's the uniqueness of this event, particularly as we probably touch on later on. The year on year, as Gareth likes to say, it very much down. Like flying in the face of a lot of that data.
Yeah, absolutely. And you got to call a spade, where we are about to talk rating stuff that we can absolutely criticize, but like you can't criticize this. Simon makes the joke there's somebody going to be counting seats based on WrestleMania 3. Like, you know what you're in for when you put like numbers like this on screen. So like, just to be clear, WrestleMania 23 and 29 are in red there because they're in the rear view at this point. Like if we've passed 68,000 at this point, like to get to 68,500 or 68,900, like a given. I thought they'd hit it this week, but before the show, they're certainly going to sell a couple hundred more tickets unless literally all the websites go down and they don't sell another ticket, which is just not going to happen. So we can put those in the review at this point, JP, and it is genuinely the case. And these 2 words are important: paid and attendance. And you know what I'll throw in as well? On record. Because you can throw in, shows that maybe, a military dictatorship maybe forced a load of people to go to a building to watch.
Your man Londos in Greece.
You can throw that into, we don't have the ticket stubs, we don't have the records, we have estimates. Personally, I don't think those 2 are relevant. I think, a show in Korea, which is what we're talking about, where again, people were literally forced at gunpoint to go and tickets for free, doesn't count. And yeah, something that old that we don't really have records for, I don't think you can really count. What that leaves us with is the 3 that are in front of us here. And even then you get arguing. Like you said, like we say there, the WrestleMania 3 number is like a myth at this point. People go back and forth. Even Dave slightly changes it every now and then in the Observer, adds a couple hundred, takes a couple hundred off. But is absolutely in the range of 78,500 as far as an attendance goes, and Dave has 75,700 as paid. SummerSlam 92, which is the second one here, which is also Wembley. Dave again fluctuates on this one. 80,355 is the number that Dave has down as went through the gate, as in went through the clickers. But but as we know, it's Wembley in 1992. It's the old Wembley. We would assume a lot more people were in the building through other means, whether they climbed the gate or whatever happened. But the number paid is what you can't argue with, and Dave has that down as 78,927. And WrestleMania 32, similar thing. Dave's gone back and forth on this one. This is where there's a legitimate clicker used. WrestleMania 32, apparently 80,709 people, according to the police, which I would probably trust, went through the gate. Dave says the paid is 79,800. If you don't like that number, take it up with him. But either way, we're talking differences of 100 here or there, 1,000 here or there. Not a lot. I think these numbers are attainable for AEW at this point. If we're already in the 68,000s and we've got another, or pretty much the better part of 2 months, maybe let's say 6 weeks at this point, to shift more tickets. If you're going to shift tickets in the run-up to it, if you're going to, unbelievably, JP, start announcing matches, I just can't help but think this is going to grow. Like, I think it's going to land somewhere in that top 3. I think it could absolutely be the 3rd. It could be the 2nd. This could even be like the highest paid attendance in the history of wrestling. That's why it's such a big deal. Like, that is literally these are the only competition you can bring up to be 2-day WrestleManias. Yes, cool. You know, this year's WrestleMania had 68,000 on Saturday and 68,000 on Sunday. I will also direct your attention to the G1 last year that had about 50 dates. And if you add all those dates together, they come to about 50,000 as well. You know what I mean? It's like you've got to, we're talking attendance, people in a building. Like, these are the only comparison points we have left. Everything else, every other WrestleMania you can think of, is in the rear view.
Do you know what? When this was first announced, I said they'd go big, and I did think 75,000 is what I had in my life.
Yeah, so did I, JP. I said like 90,000. That's what I said. I didn't sit here on the fence and say it might be 30. Not at all. Wasn't me.
I'm going to go big again. I think they're going to break it, and I think these are a couple of the other reasons outside of matches. Weirdly enough, one of which becomes the fact of this could become the biggest and largest attended wrestling show of all time, which in itself creates the demand of, I want to be there for that. So if you have a great card and it's big enough, people, and I think there's enough people who go, fuck it, I'll go. Because there is that being part of a massive spectacle of actually, it's a properly sold out Wembley for this. Yeah. They don't have like kind of minimal entrance way, but you've just got a serious mass of people. Those people are going to be, want to be part of that. And then at the same time, I think there is just going to be enough of like, you mentioned there about the matches and things like that. There are things that they're going to be able to do, people that they can bring in because this gate is going to be so big. It's not that much in the scheme of things. I know it sounds crazy. You've got a lot of Europe to aim for. You've got people from Australia who might just decide, fuck it, I'll go. I think there are enough of them to be able for like this in and of itself to become like what it was first time around, where people started buying tickets, but they knew it was going to be big. And then it's got to this level and it's like, well, can it be bigger? And I think, yeah, it can be. And I think they've got a lot of trump cards there for it. I think this is how we end up with the Cena situation, where they're basically begging for it. And there was just to mention about the piece in the Observer newsletter as well, this show should blow out the idea, and I'm going to say this, that public money during a cost of living crisis ever be spent on being given to WWE to come here when they charge an absolute fortune for tickets is disgraceful. That is unacceptable. And that's like a
celebrate this
party that I'm a member of who's saying that, and I'm not fucking happy about that at all, because this should blow this out of the water. Pay for the stadium yourself, you lazy shites. You want the people to go, you can do it. You have enough money. You really don't need any more. You get enough money from Saudi Arabia, for God's sake. Sorry.
No, you're right. Doesn't it feel like though, like the
fuck all about All In, and that's another reason why I hope it's bigger.
That's the thing. They've given All In lip service. There's been like 1 or 2 references, but they're all ready for twerking for WWE to come back, and it's just like, because there was a line about that in the Observer today. You know, Andy says the WWE will shit a brick if they break the all-time attendance. They're already shitting a brick. Like Meltzer literally says in the Observer today, with the England and UK gate records being broken at All In, WWE is planning on making those records short-lived. They absolutely that is absolutely their MO. And for like I say, for an APPG, for our politicians to be kind of fighting that fight rather than just being like, "Oh, isn't it cool?" At no cost to us, 80,000 people are going to be like at this wrestling show. You think that if I mean, I'm not even sure celebrating wrestling shows should really be their job at all. But if it is going to be their job, it's so odd that like this kind of gets like a token reference and nothing else. Because yeah, it is. It's massive, massive news in wrestling. The atmosphere is going to be amazing, as Simon says. A couple of the trolls in my Twitter replies, I'll send them some photos from inside to show it. You know, I like say it could be a massive bump for AEW shows there. The show to be you know, probably no confusion. There's probably confusion in the marketplace with John Cena, like over last week going on about like WrestleMania in the UK, and then casual people, if they do exist, open up their copy of the Metro and there's a show at Wembley staring them in the face. You know, like I think there's probably something to that, but it's like
they do need to add. Sorry,
mm.
on that advertising, they need to add 75,000 tickets sold or whatever. Gone.
Yeah.
Like they need to put that stuff.
Oh, not Wembley. We really mean it. Honest. Like that, I hate that branding. That's awful. Whoever came up with that slogan's an idiot.
But Wembley doesn't need them to pay for it. Don't get me wrong. Wembley's massively in debt, and there's things like that around it. But they paid for this. They like the Khans. The Khans been the NFL money is much more important than WWE doing a 2-day WrestleMania, and there isn't any other stadiums in the UK that can match Wembley. There's none of them that are bigger. So this is the thing about it, is they're in a bind because they're the one place that shouldn't be paying. They won't be paying a site fee to have people. They don't do it for Elton John, do they? They're not going to do it for Taylor Swift. They're not going to do it for anyone who's playing Wembley. You know what I mean? It's like all of these bands, they have to pay that same site fee. WWE, it's not like their shit don't stink. Like, it's like, no, you're the same as them. You pay for it. And I think that's the beauty of this situation. You can do Cardiff, sure. It's not Wembley. No, that's the thing. It isn't.
Like, well, that's the thing. And Cardiff has its own, share of comps and otherwise there as well, as was kind of on the screenshot before. Just in general, like that's the thing. It's like how massive this is. What a massive achievement it's going to be. The fact that it's happened organically, the fact that it's happening in the face of maybe some other not so positive business metrics for AEW is kind of crazy as well. But no, that's where we are right now. And like I said, Meltzer had a whole bit in the Observer today where he was trying to explain how I think it is technicality as well. He might not sell the most tickets, but it's going to be the most people in a building for a show that's sold tickets if they if they just sell another, like, I think it's like another 6,000 or something like that. I don't think that's the record you want. The record you want, tickets sold, and that's as black and white as it gets. And if you pass that 80,000 threshold, and we are 12,000 away, absolutely possible. Maybe they'll need to open a couple more seats up. There's the capacity allows for another 13,000 tickets to be sold, but there might be other comps in that, stage considerations or whatever. The way Tony Khan is he'll be aiming for it. That's the one to go for. More ads in the Metro, more ads on Saturday morning TV, more ads during WWE programming, which has started to creep in as well, and they'll absolutely get there. But yeah,
will indeed.
Also some less positive news, JP.
Yeah, I was going to say, we mentioned it earlier on. We talked about like